Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope you are having an amazing day, and I am very grateful that you have joined me here today. We are going to make an omelet. I know that sounds simple and easy, but it isn't necessarily. To get a really beautiful omelet, not necessarily as simple and easy as you might think it is. But today we're going to unlock the mystery, and we are going to make an omelet, and it's going to be keto. So, have you got some of that breakfast sausage that we made on Sunday? Do you have some of that left? I hope so, because you can use it in this recipe. When you think about an omelet, what are your favorite fillings in that omelet? Mushrooms, onions, spinach? Well, all of those things are wonderful. Or do you like a meat omelet with ham and bacon and sausage? And all of those things are definitely keto. But are they keto? And when you think about the omelet that you're planning on making, it's important that you look at the ingredients and make sure that the ingredients are keto, and then make sure that you know how much you're putting in of what. Yeah, it's important. Okay, so we are going to make a 2-egg omelet. Did you know that every egg has 1 gram of carbs? 1 gram of carbs. Oh, and check this out. Now, I'll tell you, if this is not your motto, you need to change your motto, because kitchens are absolutely for dancing, and I drive my husband a little bit crazy sometimes because he comes in the kitchen and I have the music blaring and I'm dancing and I'm doing spices and I'm doing my thing, but I want to do something different here. We're going to keep that kitchens are for dancing thing in our brains, but we're going to figure out how much. Get this off of here. No, I'm not writing on my fridge, but I wanted to make sure that we could be doing some math together when we needed to. Okay, so if we're using 2 eggs, if we are using 2 eggs, and each egg has a gram of carbs, so we have 2 eggs, that's 2 grams of carbs. Okay. Now, what else are we putting in there? If we're putting in 1 ounce of cheese, well, 1 ounce, 28 grams of cheese, has 1 gram of carbs in it. And then what else are we adding? We're going to add some sausage. And today we're also going to add some onion, or onions, I guess. We're chopping them in pieces, and salt and pepper. Okay, 0 grams of carbs there. Now we're only going to use a little bit of onion, less than 1 ounce. We don't want it overpowering, so we're only going to have 1 gram of carbs in our onions, or maybe a little less. And the sausage is only going to have 0.25 grams of carbs. So when we add this all up, and I put that on the wrong side, 0.25 and 1. Okay, so we are going to have 20 grams of onions and 45 grams of sausage. So there is our recipe for our omelet. And there's no carbs in the salt and pepper. So when we add this up, we have 4.25 grams of carbs in this meal. If we don't add anything else, you want to keep your grams of carbs in every meal under 10. And I don't care whether you're intermittent fasting and eating once a day, or whether you're eating 3 times a day. You want to keep your daily carbs under 20, and you want to keep your meal carbs under 10. So if you're eating 1 meal a day, you should not be eating more than 10 grams of carbs a day. But Sharon, you need carbohydrates for energy. No, you don't. That is a myth. So let's go over this again. We've done this before, but we're going to do it again. There are essential fatty acids, and when you hear the word essential in front of mineral or vitamin or an acid, it means our body can't produce it. There are essential fatty acids that our body cannot produce. We have to get them from an external source. We have to eat them in something. If we don't have those essential fatty acids, we will die. That's just a fact. And where do you get them? You get them from fat. And there are essential amino acids that we absolutely have to have. And if we don't have them, we will die. And where do you get those amino acids? You get them from protein. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. There is not. You can eat a diet that has 0 carbohydrates in it. If you lived on steak and chicken and pork chops and everything that you bought was grass-fed and grass-finished, you're going to be getting all of the nutrients that you need in your diet. Now, if you, in that carnivore diet, if you include eggs and cheese, then you're going to be getting a little bit of carbohydrates. But hey, Del, are you going to be getting enough carbohydrates to make a difference? No, it's not going to raise your blood pressure. So when we eat carbohydrates, what does that do to our body? Well, it alters our flora and fauna in a way that causes us to think we're hungry when we're not. It alters our flora and fauna in a way to encourage carbohydrate addiction. That's it. It causes all kinds of inflammation in our body. It causes type 2 diabetes. It causes heart disease. It causes other forms of vascular disease. It causes high blood pressure. It causes irritable bowel syndrome. It causes different kinds of cancers. It causes, we're not getting good stuff coming from the carbohydrates that we're eating. So there you go. That's my rant on carbohydrates. So let's talk now a little bit more about this omelet that we're going to make that is going to be absolutely delicious. Whoops, there we go. Okay, so we have everything that we need for our omelet. Now, do you like garlic in your omelet? If you do, we'll work a little bit with that omelet in a little bit. Okay, so you need a kitchen scale. Your kitchen scale should live on your counter. And if you're here with me live, say hi in the chat. I love to know who's here. If you're watching it on the replay, say hi and let me know whether this, did you join me because the line said said that we were doing omelets, or are you doing keto? Thinking about doing keto? Say hi and let me know who you are. Okay, so your kitchen scale lives on your counter because if you are not weighing the ingredients that you're using, then you don't know what you're eating. Now, I want to show you the sausage that we're using today is not the sausage that we made together on Sunday, although that would have been lovely, but yeah, there's none of that left. I've got to make some more. This is a Grimm's original sausage, so there's no cheese in it, there's no bacon in it, there's also no sugar in it. Now, Grimm's Original you can find in most grocery stores in Alberta at least, and it is the only sausage that I've found in big chain grocery stores that is actually keto friendly. So, there's that. Okay, so that's the sausage that we're using. Cracker Barrel Extra Old Cheese. Now, I love extra old cheese. It is absolutely the most flavorful cheese that you can get in the cheddar family, in my opinion. If you want to buy 3-year-old or 5-year-old extra old cheese to get even more flavor, you go ahead, but I like to do it in a more economical way. Now, both of these I bought at Costco, and they are definitely cheaper at Costco than they are in the grocery store. And then we're going to use 2 eggs for a 2-egg omelet, and a little bit of onion, and a little bit of garlic. Okay, so let's get going here. Now, the first thing we are going to do, we're going to set this scale aside so you can see what I'm doing here. I have an onion that I didn't quite cut in half. You want to trim the root end off, right? We're trimming this root end off so that we don't get all of those little root greeblies in here. And then you want to peel the skin and take the first layer of onion very often. Now, actually, this onion looks very nice. But very often, the first layer of onion will be very, very tough. So most often, you want to take that off. This one looks lovely though, so we'll just leave it. Now, you want to keep the root end here, slicing towards the top. We've trimmed the top, taken the skin off, and we're just going to make little slices so that our onion is cut very fine when we cut it. Now I'll show you, and I know we've done this before, but I just, I went years and years not knowing how to cut an onion in a simple way. And I'll tell you what else I know today. I know that I should have sharpened this knife again before we got started, but it's working. Okay, now look at what's happened. I've sliced this onion in all of these little teeny slices, and yet I can pick it up and it's not falling apart. So that's really important, because it means when we go to cut the onion the other way, and you want to cut it very fine, you don't have to be holding it together like this in order to get that fine little bit of onion. Now watch how much you're cutting. You don't want to cut more than you need. And then we're going to put it in this little bowl on the scale and make sure we know just exactly how much we're getting. And we only want 20 grams of onions. Okay. Now, if you have, that's 19 and 20. It's almost like I knew what I was doing. Okay, so we have 20 grams of onions. When you're using a sausage like this, you don't need the whole sausage. Now, an entire sausage has 1 gram of carbohydrates in it. And no, that isn't necessarily because they've added sugar or... So there are natural carbs in things, and that's just the way it is. Okay, so we're going to take some slices of the sausage, and then we're going to slice it this way so that it's as thin or as thick as you want. Do you want a full slice on there? Then you do you. That is one of my favorite sayings, you do you. And if you allow someone else to make decisions for you, you're not doing you. You're doing somebody else. That didn't sound really good, did it? Okay, well, you know what? Whatever. Now, let's get the salt out of the way here so we can see a little bit better. After you slice one way and then the other way, we're just going to make little tiny slices. Now, you can use a homemade chorizo. You can use our chicken breakfast patty sausage. Now, that sausage that we made on Sunday, you can absolutely use that. You don't have to put it in a patty. You can put it in a pan and fry it up, and then just crumble it onto the omelet that we're making. Okay, so we have a little bit of the sausage here, and we're only going to use about 1/3 of the sausage. Now we're going to set this aside because I already have some of this done. Oh, itchy eye. And since we've already weighed everything, we're just going to put that away for a little bit. If you can find a place on your kitchen counter where you do your meal prep, where you dish up your plate, do you dish up your plate on the table? If you're doing single ingredients for supper, you cook roast beef and some mashed cauliflower, and what else do you need? Some coleslaw, green salad, whatever. If you know how much you do your mashed cauliflower and you add, 454 grams, 1 pound of cooked cauliflower, and 4 ounces of cream cheese and 2 ounces of cream, you can figure all that out. You can do the math so you know how much is in each ounce of what you've prepared. And yes, I understand that this takes a little bit of work, but my question to you is this: are you worth it? Think about that for a minute. Now, you might think that the obvious answer to that is yes, of course I'm worth it. Who wouldn't say yes? You would be surprised how many people don't say yes. I have had people say, well, I hope I am. Or, well, I have kids, so I guess I have to be worth it for them. No, the correct answer is yes, I'm worth it to me, but not everybody is there. And oftentimes, keto can help them get there because it not only changes the numbers when you're looking at blood pressure or type 2 diabetes or, many other things, but it also helps decrease some low-grade, long-term inflammation in our brain from eating way too many carbs. So let's not eat too many carbs because today we're going to have a delicious meal with only 4.5 grams of carbs in it. So here we go. Now, we need a bowl to mix up our eggs in. Now, you can, if you want, but you don't have to, add a little bit of cream to your eggs. And today we're going to, because I really love the way that makes the eggs taste and work in the pan. So we're adding 2 eggs to this bowl. Now, when you're doing an omelet, you can take your eggs right out of the fridge and you can crack them into the bowl. And look at me go. I managed to do it today without getting eggshell in there. So, yay. Okay, now, it would be awesome if we had a whisk, and there we are. We have a whisk. Okay, come on, there we go. I have everything hanging here right where I need it so that we can hang out together and not have to leave to go and grab something, hopefully. Okay, so we're just going to put just a wee little dab of cream in there. So that's maybe a teaspoon and a half. So when we look at the ingredients, or when we look at the nutritional facts on this, 1 tablespoon is 0 grams of carbohydrates. And we have less than a tablespoon, so we added 0 grams of carbohydrates. So that's awesome. So our number here does not change. But we haven't figured out what the calories are. That is true, we haven't, because we don't care. This is keto. We are not counting calories. We are counting macros. And the macros that we care about are fat, protein, carbohydrates. And anywhere that you go online, now we're going to give this a good little whip. Anywhere that you go online and you look up keto macros, you are going to see the standard numbers are 5% of your daily intake should be carbohydrates with a maximum of 20 grams. 20% of your intake should be protein and 75% should be fat. But how on earth? I mean, do we just sit down and eat a stick of butter? Not most days. Not most days. Although, I will tell you that if I am getting a little bit hangry, I will put a pat of butter in my coffee or my tea, or I will just, if it's really good, delicious butter, you can just eat a little bit of butter, and that is fine. Okay, now we've been heating this pan, and you don't want, if you're doing an omelet, if you're doing a fried egg and you like the crispy bits on the outside and underneath, you want your heat turned up a little bit more. But if you're doing an omelet, you want the heat on your pan low because we don't want this omelet browned. We just want it cooked, and we want it beautiful. And you'll notice that I am not using a nonstick pan. You can, but if you heat your pan properly first and oil your pan properly, you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so we are going to put some bacon fat in there. So we're using our Grimm sausage, and we are also going to add some bacon fat. Now, if you weigh the bacon fat and you're making sure that you scrape the pan and the fat goes onto your omelet, then you can add this to your fat macro. Just weigh it. Now, if you're using a magnetic induction burner or a regular stove, take the fat on your spoon, just hold the spoon on the hot pan, and it will slide right off, and you don't need to use another spoon or your finger to get it off of there. Okay, so we're going to let this oil melt and the pan get hot, and then we're going to put the egg in the pan. Now, what is the most difficult thing that you have found about doing keto? What's the most difficult meal for keto? Now, I was talking to somebody recently who said I work full time and I don't get very much time off. And when I do get time off, I have all of this stuff to do. I have a house to take care of, and I have children and grandchildren to visit with, and I've got all of this stuff on my plate that I don't do when I'm working. So I don't have time for keto. So two things about what I was told. First of all, that's one of the reasons that people have a coach, is to help them navigate through the difficult parts of getting started and being successful on keto. Secondly, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. Meal prep doesn't need to take hours and hours every day. Now, if you want to do absolutely everything from scratch, you can do that. But it doesn't have to take a lot of time. Now, our pan is definitely getting where we want it now. My coffee this morning, a recipe. This has 1 part Da Vinci chocolate syrup, 1 part Da Vinci hazelnut syrup, both sugar-free, of course, and 1 part cream, because I was trying out something that somebody told me, and it tastes like I've put Nutella in my coffee. It is absolutely delicious. And you could use the 1 part chocolate, 1 part hazelnut sugar-free syrups together in a dessert. So awesome way to change up your flavor profile in your coffee. You can do so much. Keto is not about giving up the things that you love. Keto is about finding new healthy ways to have it. Pardon me. Oh my goodness. So do not inhale your coffee. Definitely drink it. Okay, now you want to make sure that your oil is not only on the bottom of the pan, but it's got to go around the rim of the pan as well. And those little crispy bits of bacon that have settled to the bottom and ended up in our pan, those are just going to make things even more delicious. So we're going to get a spatula for when we need to flip this. Now this is boring, and I know that. There's no salt, there's no pepper, there's no anything. Don't worry about that. We're going to get to that. Okay, now we are going to pour this into our pan. And make sure you scrape out your bowl. So this is a small omelet. This is a 2-egg omelet. And so you don't want to be wasting any of that egg, especially if you are buying free-range eggs. They are very expensive. And because they're very expensive, a lot of people do not buy free-range eggs. Okay, now we're just going to get this all the way around the pan so that it's nice and even. Okay, let's get a little bit more of this over here. Now, you'll notice that this is not, you're not hearing any sizzling, you're not hearing anything like that. Now, there are, if you watch TV and you watch all of the TV chefs and they grab the pan and they flip it like this and the omelet just flips over it, yeah, that's not me. If I tried to do that, we would have a whole different kind of show here, guaranteed. Okay, so you just are going to let this cook. Now you can flip it over if you want, but because we have it on such a low heat, we can just leave it exactly the way it is, and we can let it cook through. And when it's getting to the point where it is almost cooked through, and we can move a little bit more of this raw egg into open spots, and that's going to help it cook a little bit more. So this is one of those labors of love. It takes a few minutes to do it, but oh my goodness, the reward at the end is absolutely beautiful. Okay, now we have this exactly the way we want it. We have the egg almost cooked. You can see that this one side is cooking a little bit faster. I could try and flip this, but I'm using an 8-inch pan, and this is going to break if I try and flip it. So I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is start adding our ingredients. So I'm going to add our sausage first. Now remember, this is, what did we say this was? 45 grams of Grimm's original sausage. And yes, I know I spread it all in the middle, but just go with me here. And then I'm going to add our 28 grams of Cracker Barrel extra old cheese that we got at Costco, the same place that we got the Grimm sausage. If you can shop at Costco, or you know someone who has a Costco membership, you don't necessarily need to buy your own, although I'm pretty sure they wouldn't like me saying that, but you can definitely save money and do more things in your kitchen for your family at a lower price if you shop there. Not everything is cheaper there, but some things are. And we're going to add a little bit of onion, and I have 20 grams in here, but I'll tell you what, we're not even going to use 20 grams. And yes, I am aware that this is raw onion, but I like that in an omelet, so that's the way I'm doing it. If you don't like raw onion, if you want it cooked, that's absolutely fine. You are doing this for lunch and you have a meeting in an enclosed space, you may not want to do the raw onion. Okay, so then we are going to add a little bit of salt. Just sprinkle it over the top. Now remember, the sausage has salt. The cheese has salt. So we don't need to add lots and lots, just a wee bit. And then we're going to add a wee bit of pepper. And if you don't like pepper, don't put it in there. Would you rather add, I don't know, some smoked paprika, or what would you rather add in there? A little bit of spice in your omelet? That is absolutely fine. Now, the next part of what we're doing is important, because we are just going to lift this off and flip it over. Now look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. Oops, let's flip this end in. Okay, we're gonna need two things here, and we're gonna flip this end in. Whoops. Ah. Oh well, you know what? And then we're gonna flip this end over. Now you can see that it's a little bit brown, but it's not crispy. It's absolutely beautiful. It has cooked just lovely. Can you make this ahead of time and save it for a brunch? Well, you could. I don't know that I would, but what you could do ahead of time, if you wanted those onions caramelized, you can definitely do that. And once you've folded it together and you've got it still cooking in this pan, it's going to be melting the cheese, it's going to be heating up that sausage that we have, and that's going to add a little bit of extra fat and the flavor from that fat. We have the bacon fat on the outside. You do not need high heat on this. 1 or 2 on a magnetic induction burner, or almost to low if you're using a regular electric burner. Okay, so we have that. What do we need on top of it? I'll tell you what, the only thing that we are going to put on top of that omelet, because I love it so much, is a little bit of butter. That is it. So we need, you thought I forgot, didn't you? Well, there's no way that I can work in my kitchen for more than about 30 seconds without needing a cloth to wipe things up. Okay, so I definitely, as usual, forgot to grab a plate. So I'm going to do that because this is almost ready. And we definitely want to be able to taste this. Now I'm going to give you another brain trick. One of the things that we do to help us with any kind of eating plan that you're going to be using is brain tricks. Now, if you have a great big huge plate and you put a small omelet in the center of that plate, what your brain sees is a little bit of food, just a little bit. If you take a small plate and you put a medium-sized omelet, what your brain sees is a lot more food. Okay, now this is definitely done. Now we're going to lift it out with a spatula. And look at that. Look at that omelet. That is absolutely beautiful. We're going to turn this burner off. And we have an absolutely beautiful sausage, egg, and onion omelet. How easy was that? So we've taken a few minutes to do it, but it has definitely been worth the wait. Now let's cut into this omelet and see what it looks like. Look at how soft and beautiful that is. And when you look inside, we've got onion, we've got sausage, we've got cheese. Now let's see about the taste. Now look at that bite. Who is not going to love that? Well, I suppose if you don't like grim sausage. I, however, love it. So, that is delicious and easy, and you can do it at home. Find a place on your counter to put your kitchen scale, weigh your ingredients, keep track of your carbs. If I eat this whole omelet right now, I've had 4¼ grams of carbs. I can deal with that. It's less than 10, and this will be my one meal for the day. Okay, so I have kept you a few minutes longer than I usually do, and I hope it was worth it for you. Remember, kitchens are for dancing. Play your music, dance in your kitchen. It gets you moving. It gets things loosened up so that you're not so stiff and sore. The more you move, the more you'll be able to move. But don't overdo it. Listen to your body. It will tell you how much it can do. When it starts to hurt, then stop. If you're getting tired, you don't necessarily need to stop. But if it hurts, you need to be very careful. So get out and get moving. If the weather is good, or stay in and get moving, turn the music on in your kitchen or your living room or wherever and get moving, or go to the mall, or do what you need to do. But for the rest of today, and until I see you Friday at noon, please do your very best to live your best version of this shining life. I know that's what I'm going to do. And I'm in the Wetaskiwin Market today at from 2:30 to 5:30 with my line of spices and with a beautiful selection of Da Vinci sugar-free syrup. So you want to join me in Wetaskiwin at the Ag Center, 2:30 to 5:30 today. You don't want to miss it. So come and see me and say hi.